Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of DVC Clubhouse. We are here with some new friends, but first, as always, I'm Jeff, and Amy's here with us.
Hey, everyone.
And we have Shawn and Jennifer joining us from the group. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
All the way from Maryland, is that correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Appreciate you coming in. Well, first, why don't you start out a little bit about yourselves and kind of where your Disney journey started? What got you into Disney? How long have you been doing Disney?
Okay, I'll start because it's mainly me who got us into Disney, and I got it through my family when I was, basically born. So I started going to Disney in the 80s. I was born in 82, so it took me a couple of years to get there. I think my first year was like 86 or 87. And then I religiously went every 2 to 3 years with my parents. And we always stayed at French Quarter. And I love that resort, still do to this day. And then I took a little bit of a hiatus when I got out of high school, late high school through my 20s, because I was too cool for everything at that stage of my life. And, Disney was still fun, but there was other things I wanted to do, like, beaches and, Vegas and stuff like that. So I got that out of my system, and I had met Jennifer, and we were in a relationship, and I dragged her to Disney, and she hadn't been there since like 84 or something, 86.
Yeah, so I had the complete opposite. Grown up Disney, I went to Disney once when I was 5. I have parents that you go one place once and then you don't ever have to do it again. So I was there when I was 5. The only memories I have is Goofy water skiing across the lake, which I think he used to do, and then Space Mountain, which I couldn't go on because I thought it was very scary, and I ended up walking off the line. But we started dating, and he was like, "Let's go to Disney," and I said, "Oh, okay, sure."
And so we went a couple times, and then I got her a little bit hooked, and then we started thinking about DVC because my brother was an owner at Boulder Ridge. I somehow managed to convince her to buy in, and then there we go. And now we're knee deep in it. So
It was a slow convincing over time, stretched it out, and eventually I got hooked. So here we are.
yes, I used every shred of my abilities, and it was a long drawn out thing. I realized that a quick attack wouldn't work. So I did just a long drawn out campaign of attrition on her. And we bought into Boulder Ridge for our first contract back right before the pandemic.
Yeah, early 2020.
Yeah, so great time to buy in.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So Boulder Ridge is your home resort. You bought in, 2019 then? 2020?
Yeah, we purchased it late 2019,
okay.
Like December-ish. So and we basically bought there because it was my brother's resort, and it was reasonably priced, and yeah, there was one available, so I went for it.
Very cool. How do you guys use your membership?
I think we use it for a lot of different stuff. We've used it for our family, me and Jennifer and the 2 kids. We've gone down just for family trips. And with that, it's changed us because I used to be so, neurotic about trying to get every ride in every time I went to the park, because I was still on that mentality of when I was a kid, where if I didn't get it, I wouldn't get it for 3 years. So, and now we are totally the opposite. Some days I'll go to the park and I'll look at the lines and I'll be like, screw this, and we're just going to go back to the resort and go in the pool. So we've started going on just a couple trips. Me and Jennifer, we're actually going down at the end of January for like 5 days for our anniversary. And I've done a solo trip, and even though it was like a modified solo trip, but I still call it a solo trip. And we've also taken others from like my mom and stuff. We've taken them down on point. So we've really like used a lot of aspects of it. So it's been like 100% no regrets for this guy right here.
Very cool.
And if I am not mistaken, you bought your first contract at Boulder Ridge in the beginning of 2020, but you now have 5 different home resorts. Is that right?
Yes. So I will talk a little bit about that journey. So after Boulder Ridge, we were, she was kind of like, all right, well, we got it. Now we're done and we can move on. Well, then we started getting, blue card itis, and we wanted to I convinced Jennifer to get direct points
Before they went up.
Yeah, yes. That's the great thing. If you're trying to convince someone to get points through Disney, when they threaten to raise them, that's great because it just makes your case of why you need to do it. So something's working with their business plan. So we decided to buy, it was kind of like a hair's edge decision, razor's edge decision. We chose Animal Kingdom because she really wanted it, and it was the idea of being able to get the value rooms kind of enticed me in. I, to this day, am torn. I really was like, my second was Riviera, and I absolutely adore Riviera, and I still have a lot of moments where I regret not buying Riviera, but Animal Kingdom's a great place, so I'm gonna accept it. And then we moved. So then we were like, okay, now we're done. Well, then we decided that we needed to, since there were East Coasters and we'd gone to Hilton Head once, well, we need Hilton Head points because we want to be able to go there during the summer. So we bought a small contract. So we bought that, and then we were done. And then they released the Grand Floridian points, and the Grand Floridian points went for sale, and we were like, okay, that's pretty enticing, price point. And then she actually came in, I was cleaning the bathroom one day, and she came in and she was like, that's a pretty low price point. I think we could, and I was like, done. So I called up our guide, and we got a smaller contract. There's 55 points, but I was like, okay, sweet. And then I had made up my mind that I was going to push for full capitulation. And I had decided that I was like, I need Boardwalk, because that was another of my regrets. Boardwalk to me is like probably my number one resort, because I'm an Epcot guy. So I managed to convince Jennifer to sell our Boulder Ridge contract and then buy 2 contracts, Copper Creek and Boulder Ridge, and Boardwalk, on the resale market. And now we're done.
We are done.
So
like, there's no more.
Take that for what you will.
Sounds like famous last words to me. You've said a couple of times through this story that you were done, and here you are.
It's a journey.
Owning half of the resorts.
Yes. Well, I couldn't resist it. I wasn't always a huge fan of the Grand Floridian, but with that walking path there, and the price of it direct was not a huge difference than what we were finding on the resale market. So I was just like, let's just do it. So
yeah. So
yeah, I mean, I've said it before on the show, but Grand Floridian was never really at the top of my list. Up till like the past 2 years, when they redid Citricos, they opened Enchanted Rose. They're kind of going with this like less stuffy decor, and it's more like whimsical and pastel color palettes. It just feels like a lighter, more fun place than some people thought before, when it was like Meisner's Lounge and it was dark wood, and Citricos was not as good, and it even the color scheme there was kind of weird in a late 1980s, early 1990s type of decor. So I mean, it has really risen through the ranks on my list. I mean, I think you guys own a pretty solid collection of resorts there.
Well, they're minus Riviera, of course, but we'll make do.
Well, and you have a nice combination of resorts now too, that in terms of their expiration dates, right?
Yeah, so that was another thing. I wanted some that were going to last at least past, 2042. Because I got, we have kids and hopefully we'll have some grandkids maybe down the road. And I would like to be able to take people down there, but I don't necessarily want to have, like 400 points that are expiring when I'm 85 or 90 or, like I understand that while I love DVC and Disney, that's a long time. And, this is a contract that I sign and, things could change possibly. So I wanted to kind of have a little bit of a conservative, a nice spread, as you would say, for my resorts.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent portfolio for sure. I'm jealous. I went all in at one resort and I mean, it's fine. It's worked great for me, but yeah, I'm jealous. It's a pretty good list.
It gets a little bit complicated trying to plan out trips just because I'm constantly trying to juggle like where I'm taking my points from.
Yeah.
And Animal Kingdom and Grand Floridian are, they get heavily used because they're my direct points. So, if I want to do Riviera, which we're doing next April, like I have to take from them.
Yeah.
So it is a little challenging. Luckily, they're all the same use here. So that would be a disaster if they weren't. But but yeah, so it is nice. But I could see the allure of owning at one resort, because then you can also really take advantage of, like, if you wanted to do like a Grand Villa or something, which a lot of these places, unless I can get, maybe like an old Key West or something, because it's easier to get, or a Saratoga Springs, I'm going to be shut out of a lot of them because I don't have enough to do a direct, at the 11-month window. So
yeah,
so we'll make it work though.
for sure. So you kind of mentioned that Boardwalk was maybe your favorite. Is that both your favorite resorts, or do you have different favorite resorts?
I don't think we're on the same page with our favorite resorts. And mine do rotate. I have to admit, I think I love one, and then I go to another one that they've like redone, and I'm all of a sudden I'm like, wow, that's really nice too. I think I do love the Boardwalk, and I love the Boardwalk because of its theming, and because now it's going to have all these great food options, but mainly it is the walking distance to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And that is, I have grown to despise transportation as a DVC owner now. Like, I'll do it, but I'm not happy to do it. It's the Boardwalk there's nothing better. And Beach Club is obviously the same boat, but to me, Boardwalk beats Beach Club because of its theming. I just love and I cannot wait till they just get a redo of the rooms coming up, because that's like the one chink in the armor, is that the rooms are like, you can tell that this room's been around for a long time and it's heavily used. So would they put a new set of rooms in there? And yes.
Yeah, I don't know what my favorite would be. I have not stayed at all of them. So we own at Copper Creek, and at one point we had owned at Boulder Ridge, but we've never actually stayed there yet. So I think we're going to be doing that next September.
Yeah, for the meetup.
Down for
Sure.
meetup. So
cool.
That will be our first time there. So I like the aesthetics of that. So I kind of feel like that probably would be my favorite. But what I like about DVC is that depending on what kind of trip you want to take, there's so many different options to do. So like when we were just down for Christmas, we were at Animal Kingdom, and to me, that place would be perfect just to kind of do a relaxing vacation. Just kind of, you go out, you watch the animals. There's lots of things to do there. You can go on little safaris out there, which I would love to do at some point. I mean, you really don't need to go to a park, really. I feel like at Animal Kingdom, there's so much to do in and around it. But then the Boardwalk's great because it just seems very lively. So if you want to go for a trip that you want to get into Epcot a lot, and you like the kind of the liveliness of the Boardwalk at night, then that's really great too. So there's just we stayed at Old Key West one time, and that's another place that I was just like, this is wonderful. This is so relaxing too. This is, you're like your own little apartment almost, so I don't know. It just depends on what kind of vacations we're looking for, where I feel like that is a good place to be.
I left out that the boardwalk has a pizza window. And to me, and I know this, people are going to think like, well, that's just crappy pizza. And it's, I would say it's not, it's a little elevated above crappy, but the pizza window, to me, I use the pizza window almost every single night I'm there. It's awful. I come back and I'll be full, and I'll go by the pizza window and I'll say, okay, and I'll go and get my little, whatever the beeper thing they give you. And I get and that's like, I doubt Disney, when they were designing that resort, were like, the pièce de résistance was going to be a pizza window, but for me, it actually is. So, that puts the icing on the cake.
Hey, I get it. That's the best part about a cruise, man. Like, doesn't matter what time of day, there's always pizza.
Exactly.
Our pizza window, though, it's a little dangerous, because beyond the, eating it every night, there are a lot of seagulls on the boardwalk. And I got a slice of pizza once. My sister was at the window waiting for her order. I stepped away with my plate of pizza, and I was attacked by, I don't know how many seagulls, but a lot. And I screamed. She turned around. She didn't know what was happening. They took my entire slice of pizza and flew off with it. And I was just left standing on the boardwalk with my plate, like shocked and stunned and traumatized because I was fully attacked.
So it goes directly with the theming of the boardwalk, because you're from New Jersey. If you've been on a New Jersey boardwalk, the seagulls have no, they're not shy at all about grabbing your funnel cake off of the plate and flying away with it. I've seen many of boardwalk families be attacked by seagulls.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't get shanked too, because those Jersey seagulls.
No, it's true. It's a very authentic experience, because I go to the Jersey Shore frequently, and I typically do not eat on the beach, because you cannot eat in peace on the beach. I have been chased away from my beach chairs many times by seagulls who have come because one of my kids has dropped a snack. When they were younger, they needed to always have snacks, and I'd be the crazy lady running down the beach away from the seagull. So yes, you're right. Disney totally nailed that Jersey Shore seagull nightmare vibe.
And to you guys' point from what you're saying earlier, trying to pick a favorite is hard, and everybody says that. But Amy is the one that always says this. My favorite DVC resort is the one I'm at.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. Yeah, I had a great time at Animal Kingdom the last time we were there a couple weeks ago. My daughter loves animals, and just being able to go down, and they had the pool at Jambo, even though it's kind of basic, is a nice big pool. It was a lot of fun. And then you can just go right back there and see the giraffes. And, we got lucky having a safari view from our value room and seeing the giraffes and zebras. And so, yeah, I had a great time.
If Animal Kingdom had better transportation, like if they had a Skyliner, leg go to it where you could access maybe Epcot or something over there, or you can even just get to Animal Kingdom. It's insane to me that you can't get to Animal Kingdom from Animal Kingdom Lodge without a bus. I know that there's some sort of logistics issue there that Disney, they have, but that to me is, every time I go there, I'm like, but it's right over there. I can't just walk, so.
I feel like, though, you think when you're at Disney World that things are close, and then you're like, I'm going to walk there. And then 20 minutes into it, you're like, oh my God, am I still not there? And I'm, racking up, it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you already have 15,000 steps.
I'm kind of I have antisocial stuff sometimes going on. So the buses sometimes to me are I don't want to say challenging, they're just unpleasant. And then also, I don't think I've sat on a bus in the last like 5 years, because every time I go in there, there's like someone who's like, needs to sit. So I'm always standing on them. So to me, the Skyline, if you put a Skyliner there, that could be my favorite resort, honestly. So.
I mean, the one thing I think that it is nice, at least when you take the bus from Animal Kingdom Lodge to Animal Kingdom, that's a pretty short, like you're
It
not going to get a
is.
shorter than that, but it is, I hear you. Taking a bus to every resort is very different than stepping out of the Boardwalk or Beach Club. And, Beach Club is my home resort.
Mhm.
And for me, the notion of just walking out of my room and being in Epcot in less than 5 minutes is just amazing. I mean, it's like Epcot's in your backyard. And as wonderful as all of the resorts are, there is just something about the proximity of Beach Club and Boardwalk to those two parks, really. And Boardwalk, really, because it's situated in between the two parks. When you go out one of those doors by the pool, you're at Hollywood Studios. It is, and I feel like maybe not everyone realizes how close of a walk it actually is if you go out the right door at Boardwalk
Mhm.
to be at Hollywood Studios. A lot of people still take the boat, but I feel
you
like
could- you
depending
could-
on where your room is, you might be walking farther to get to the boat than you are to be getting to Hollywood Studios. And that's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
By the time you wait for the boat, get on the boat, have the boat go to like a couple of other stops, because usually I don't think they go to Boardwalk first. You'd be at Boardwalk if you just walked. So
Yeah. Well, and I think really they nailed that Crescent Lake area anyways. I mean, from a design standpoint, I mean, yes, the boardwalk itself is cool, and the boardwalk has a lot of, especially at nighttime, the streetmosphere and the piano bar, and I mean, Atlantic Dance Hall, that's a whole conversation for another situation, but just all those resorts, including the Swan and Dolphin with great dining options, are in just such close proximity. I wish they would have done something like that with Animal Kingdom Lodge, made it like a neighborhood, not just a far-flung resort on its own that's not really close to anything, because they nailed Animal Kingdom Lodge. They just put it in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I could see that. To me, I think I would be on your thought plane there. I understand, some people I think really like this, the seclusion of it, that they're away from everything. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any bad Disney resort. Every DVC resort I've ever been to, I've had a really good time, and I found things I liked about it. And there's occasionally some things where I wish, where I'm like, well, I'd change that if I could. But even the beach ones, we've been to Vero and Hilton Head, and I loved Vero. Vero was amazing, and Hilton Head was equally as good, just a little bit of a different beast that you have to get to like kind of appreciate. But yeah, I mean, there's no DVC resort that I've been to that I've never even had an experience where I've been, like you read sometimes on the boards, like, that, oh, my trip is destroyed and this and having, I've never had that. I don't know if I'm just lucky or if I don't know, but I've had a really good time, and I felt like the rooms are always fairly clean, and I've been very happy with I'm 100% satisfied with my purchase.
Mhm.
Good. So what's on your DVC bucket list? Is there something that DVC will have opened for you that you want to try, or places that you haven't stayed that you want to, like?
Well, I mean, obviously for us East Coasters, the two areas that are kind of a little bit of a journey are Hawaii with Alani, and then, Disneyland. It's a tough choice out of those two. I think I would probably rather do Disneyland than Alani, and I would probably want to do it in the new Disneyland Tower that they're building.
Yeah.
I just think it looks really cool, and I like the theming of it. And I understand, Grand Californian is amazing and it's beautiful and all that stuff, but I don't know. For me personally, I think it'd be Disneyland Tower. As nice as Alani would be, I really think for me, I would appreciate the being close to Disneyland a little bit more. So for me, it would probably be the Disneyland Tower in a couple of years. That would be my number one, which is going to have to probably wait a while. But yeah, that for me, other than them opening a resort in like Japan or Europe, that would be like, my hypothetical one to build a home, or like down on like the Bahamas, on one of their islands. So I mean, but I'll defer. I'm not sure what yours would be.
Bucket list for me for DVC. I guess just what I like about it now, and when we go so often because DVC allows us to go often. Is the things that I get to do that I didn't get to do before. So before we would go, every 3 or 4 years, and I'm kind of a person who, if I'm going to spend a lot of money, then I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. So we're at the parks all the time and trying to really go and do as many rides as we can. But now we go several times a year. I don't really we don't go on a ride. It's okay. So if we just go to the park to do 1 or 2 rides, that's okay. I like being able to have the time to do the other things that we don't necessarily always get to do, like being able to do the candlelight processional, where we literally that day we just went to Epcot just for that dinner and that was it. We didn't do any other. Well, maybe we did 1 ride before, but that was it. So normally I wouldn't spend a price of a ticket just to go do that. We would have been there all day and we wouldn't have, been able to do other things. So that's what I like about DVC. So bucket list would be the things that I've always wanted to do, like maybe take a boat on a lake, or maybe do one of the safari excursions in Animal Kingdom. I don't know, just those extras. That's what I want to do.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah, Amy and I have talked a lot about that over the past few months. That's kind of what we're leaning to as well. We had a thing, we were going to do the boat. And then Hurricane Ian came and threw that right out the window. But we had a group of us that were going to go, and it was going to be awesome. So
yeah, that I would definitely be down for a little boat action. So I get a little motion sick on boats, so Seven Seas Lagoon might be like a great place for me to go, because there's like no tides or anything out there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there's no current. You go on a pontoon boat, and that pontoon boat that goes like,
yeah,
I don't speak in sailor terms, so I don't know what that must be. However many knots or whatever nautical miles an hour, I don't know. But yeah, I think that would be pretty low key. Hopefully, it would be like riding It's a Small World, but without
a little more exciting.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, we always post on the group and in our various Instagram lives and things about all the awesome vacations that we have. But tell us a story about something that maybe got left on the cutting room floor, something that was maybe not as positive or maybe a little funny, as far as, not as magical as you would hope.
Well, I think for me, this actually was right before we were just about to, think about getting the DVC, or we had just bought into it or something. And we were staying at Pop Century on a trip. We went down, and her mother came with us, and my son had the flu. We actually had to push the trip back a couple days until he started feeling a little better, and he was on Tamiflu and stuff. And I was left, or volunteered, to
were you voluntold?
Yeah, so exactly. So it was my shift to handle like the morning, and then up until like the early afternoon, and then I would get, someone would come and relieve me, and I would be able to go have fun. Well, he needed to eat. He hadn't had anything all day. So I started asking him, what would you like to eat? We got to get you some food. And I thought he was going to say like a donut or a muffin or something like that. But he said he wanted like an actual lunch from the food court at Pop. So I said, okay, well, let me go get it. And he said, no, I'm feeling a little better. I'd like to go. So we walked over to the food court, and I was going around kind of like pointing out what you could get to him. And then I looked back and I noticed like he didn't look so hot.
Uh-oh.
So we're standing there and I said, "Are you okay? Like, do we need to go back?" And he said, "I don't feel too good." And then all of a sudden, just like projectile vomiting, like all over the floor in the middle, the absolute dead center of the food court there. And I looked around and I was like, I completely wasn't like shocked. Like, but like, it just like I didn't know what to do. So I did what some people would call cowardly, and I just grabbed him and I just ran out of there. And there was a cast member who had seen it, so I was like, well, they'll take care of it. So I felt awful. I went back to the room and I was like, I actually went back after I put him there because I was like, I gotta clean this up. This is a mess. So, but I went back and they had already cleaned it up because Disney, as much as it gets knocked, is pretty good about cleaning up stuff like that. So but yeah, that for me was probably my I was completely like humiliated. I felt completely awful about the whole thing. But yeah, that's great story there.
Well, I guess the one thing along those lines, we have kids, so kids get sick. Sometimes they get sick in places you don't want them to. And my daughter almost basically did the exact same thing on another trip when we were at Old Key West. And luckily we were in a 2-bedroom with a washer and dryer because she ate something bad at one of the parks the day before. And that in the middle of the night, she woke up and with food poisoning and just all over the place. The sheets got her into the bathroom. She threw up all over the shower curtains. And I mean, it was horrible.
Do you regret inviting us on the show?
Not at all. Not at all.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning and I had the washer and dryer at Old Key West going with shower curtains and sheets because, I felt horrible and I was, trying to clean up. I went down to the desk the next morning and was like, listen, if you just give me some cleaning products, because they don't have cleaning products in the rooms. I wish they had like a spray or something. Like, I'll clean it up. I don't have a problem. They're like, oh no, we'll send somebody. And, I had 2 ladies come in and clean both of the bathrooms, like up and down all over the place for us, which was great. But I felt so bad.
So I will say though, all of these things are like the DVC, being a DVC member has changed my view on these horrible events that happen, because I used to be like, oh my God, the trip is ruined. Like, the world's ending. My Disney trip is, and now I'm like, oh, well, I'll just come back. I'll use this as an excuse to come back in 2 months. And, I wasn't going to, but now I'll just like make a little trip. And so it even like the bad stuff is not as bad as it used to be. So
yeah,
being
if we miss a day at a park now, it's like, well, it's not a big deal. We're going to come back. So
yep,
that's awesome. I love that. I love that a lot.
Well, and I just need to say, I feel bad for the people in the food court who had to witness it, but in some regard, they are experts at dealing with that. When I was just in Disneyland, I was in line for Space Mountain and they had to close down the ride for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I overheard on the walkie one cast member saying, oh, they're cleaning up a code green or something like that. And I was like, oh, and it must be just part of the job for them. Every day they must deal with it, and they're professional about it and quick about it. Sadly, the one in your room kind of fell on you guys, so that's a little bit of a bummer. At least on you were like able to be like, all right, let's get out of here.
Yeah, all I have to say is thankfully my son, because my son and my daughter were sleeping in the same bed, and luckily he woke up before she started and it was like, Fiona, are you okay? And then he jumped out of the bed just in time.
You are 100% gonna need a disclaimer on this video, like right at the start, like do not watch while eating or thinking about eating within the next like
if you
half
have
an
a
hour,
sensitive stomach,
because things have really taken a turn here.
Yeah, we went weird in a fast direction, or fast in a weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you know what? That's real life.
It
that's
is.
like
It's
you go
real
on vacation, and these are like the real life happens even on vacation. And to your point, being a DVC member, it kind of makes it easier to just stay calm and even keeled about it, because this isn't the one trip that you're taking that you now feel is ruined. You just, kind of, you make it work. You go frequently enough that you're familiar enough with it so that it feels like a little bit less like you're in a foreign place dealing with this, and you're home ish.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Was there anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up?
No, just wanted to thank you guys for having us on, and also for setting up this group. It's really awesome to have the ability to meet and meet up with people at the parks or the resorts, and then also see people's stories, because that's also probably arguably the number one thing about DVC is you become part of a community. And it's great that you guys are facilitating the ability for this community to maybe get to know each other a little more and to become more of a community. So just thanking you guys, and that's about it.
We
Yes.
appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely want this to be a place where people can come together. And we appreciate you guys taking time out of your day and joining us. And with that, thanks everybody else for joining it. Oh, go ahead, Emmy.
I was going to say, we're so excited that you guys are going to come in September to the Clubhouse weekend. And so if anybody who's watching doesn't know, we are planning a DVC Clubhouse weekend in September. Details are on our Facebook page, so you can check them out there. But otherwise, Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, make sure you're subscribing, you're hitting the like button, and you're following us on all our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And with that, thanks for joining us, and we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.